The speaker must immediately report police force, ruse, and any actual cases involving relatives.
I will only be not for myself. Speaker, your date isn't that long.
It doesn't matter which department you join.
Based on your work abilities, I thought, Keki, the choice of the chairman's meeting should be included. These teams are the best choices for you. As for the terrifying timing, you, the SWAT leader, who heard of the UNIS, I used public reasoning to undermine the ordinance, plus the role of chairman. I don't believe you're trying to seize power.
The commissioner of police had just left the country a few days ago. An explosion suddenly occurred on the busiest street in Hong Kong. Immediately after, a BMW seemed like a provocation. I copied the reunion car. As a result, the driver was either intoxicated or someone dragged him into the water. His vision blurred, and he couldn't see the road clearly, and the car was split in two. The assault vehicle caught up to handle the accident, but the driver was especially aggressive. Not only did they call for help, they also grabbed police batons, trying to make a move. The result was a very similar one. My little cop took him down directly.
We are police, not mad dogs.
If you attack a police officer, I'd beat you to death. But what no one expected was,
After handling this traffic accident, the police car actually vanished into thin air on the map. None of the 5 officers could contact the police force. They were all using top-tier equipment. It is impossible for all signals to be cut off at the same time. After receiving the news, they immediately went to find Adiu, who was in charge of police communications. I don't know if Adiu has something to hide, or if he just happened to get drunk that night. Others barely woke him up with a cup of slush. On the other side, the deputy director of the police management team, Liu Jiehui, rushed to the police headquarters immediately. Unexpectedly, his subordinate Aki told him that one was the director's plane, just arrived in Copenhagen, and my phone hadn't turned on yet. The other is Li Wenbin acting as director. Hong Kong's alert level was raised to level 1. Liu Jiehui felt that something was off everywhere. Sure enough, as soon as they arrived at the conference room, someone reminded Liu Jiehui to stay alert. On the surface, it looks like the van has disappeared, but in reality, it is the beginning of a power struggle. Because the director is about to step down, Liu Jiehui and Li Wenbin are both deputy division chiefs. A tough battle was bound to happen between these two, and the deputy director of the operations division was about to get there. Li Wenbin listened to his subordinate's report and impatiently interrupted. The other party directly asked Liu Jiehui, "What do you think about this matter?" But Liu Jiehui comes from the management office. He rose through the civil service path. He had little combat experience. The basics covered were theoretical textbooks. Li Wenbin had ruined everything. This was a strong warning to Liu Jiehui, and you can see from this, the two of them never got along. Then, Li Wenbin then questioned Liu again about how this situation could have happened, shifting all the responsibility onto their management office. ADU understood clearly. Li Wenbin spoke with hidden meaning. But on the surface, he was drawn to his work ability. In reality, he still wanted to outdo Liu Jiehui, but at this moment he didn't dare say a word. His eyes snuck to Liu Jiehui, and Liu Jiehui immediately took over the conversation.
I asked about technology. Did you answer him?
By this point, Li Wenbin had completely gained the upper hand, watching his direct boss being scolded like a grandson. ADU, who had taught English before, really couldn't sit still. He said they had already installed a locating system on each officer's walkie-talkie, so you can find people using walkie-talkies. Upon hearing this, Li Wenbin immediately decided to establish a command center, and he didn't even ask Liu Jiehui's opinion. He directly named this operation the Korean War. Then he led the Flying Tigers to rescue them. But unexpectedly, the group came up empty-handed. There was only one boat of Indians on site. At this moment, Liu Jiehui finally learned that Li Wenbin's son was also on the missing persons list. At this point, Liu Jiehui finally understood why is Li Wenbin so enthusiastic. So he found it. Security Bureau Director Luke Minghua reported that he used police resources to find his son. He suspected that this matter was closely related to the father and son, so he applied to Lu Minghua to retrieve Li Wenbin's files. At the same time, he also found Li Wenbin's hand. Dong Guanzi tried to get some information out of him, but Dong Guanzi was very stubborn. No matter how I asked, he wouldn't budge. Liu Jiehui simply laid his cards on the table. Mr. Liu had just come by.
If you find some Shuan prisoners, you should be able to meet them.
What does Mr. Liu come to see Liu Jiehui mean? This means he is siding with Liu Jiehui, and with this, Li Wenbin above him is in jeopardy. And judging by Liu Jiehui's tone, Mr. Liu has a decisive impact on Kwang Jili's future. So whenever Mr. Liu mentioned Kwang Jili's actions, it revealed that his rebellious spirit was gradually fading, revealing his scheming. Liu Jiehui watched him and realized that the mining power was already wavering. If you have something to say, just say it directly.
I fully understand Li Xi's current appearance. But we are the management of the basic forces.
Kwang Jili still didn't respond, then asked if there was any agreement between him and Mr. Liu. After Liu Jiehui confirmed, Kwang Jili wanted to know the details of the agreement. Liu Jiehui nodded in agreement, but he said he couldn't tell him yet. Since Liu Jiehui refused to say Huang, Chili got up to leave. Liu Jiehui thought it was hopeless. Just before leaving, Chili picked up coffee. Clearly he was persuaded. At that moment, a mysterious package suddenly appeared at the police station entrance. When they opened it, there was no bomb inside. Instead, it was a xiaolingtong and a memory card containing a video filmed by criminals. Although the image quality is terribly blurry, but he could still clearly recognize the hostage inside. It was Lai Wenbin's son, Li Jiajun, but the thug seemed a bit out of his mind. Unlike normal people who directly demand ransom, instead, let them guess how much money they actually want. On one side is the assault vehicle.
5 police officers are all equipped. This account is easy to calculate. Probably less than 4,500. No, that is impossible.
So simple. But something must be missing.
But no one complains about too much money. If this is the answer, he also underestimated who we are.
They suspected it was an insider behind the scenes. If calculated according to the police compensation regulations, if all 5 police officers have already lost their compensation, including subsidies for orphans and widows, the total amounts to at least over 90 million HKD, and this is very likely the amount the criminals want. But as soon as they finished calculating, as they were speaking, the thug became arrogant. He directly threw a police officer with heart disease at the hospital entrance. It was as if they were completely disregarding the Hong Kong police. Thus, Li Wenbin has once again raised the alert level, demanding that all police officers in Hong Kong not be allowed to rest until all these thugs were dealt with. But this completely angered Liu Jiehui. Because Li Wenbin didn't take the law seriously at all, he managed the police force entirely based on his own personal preferences. Thus, Liu Jiehui decided to initiate a vote. He took back command of Hanzhang.
Why are you all coming up here? I have something I want to discuss with you. What are you discussing? When you hand me 2 set pieces of information.
You won't. I think you have pursued it.
So the team leader came up in uniform to help me roll. That is not what I meant.
That is not what I meant. Reunion this time was born in Xinjiang. The supervisor of Xinjiang should take responsibility. This is the left section, and my running goal. There has never been an ACP or even a DCP directly involved in the operation.
So you also think I'm abusing totalitarianism?
I understand how you feel. And I'm also worried that your emotions might affect your judgment. Me! Or you or not!
Seeing how confident the other party was, it was obvious they were well prepared. But Li Wenbin didn't want to argue further, so he had his subordinate Dong Guanzai take him away. Unexpectedly, Dong Guanzi had already sided with Liu Jiehui. At this point, Li Wenbin had already guessed something. Then, he took out his phone and started recording. He planned to record every word Liu Jiehui said. He had reason to suspect the deputy director of the management office. Liu Jiehui had already disrupted the operations department's normal operations. Moreover, it constitutes the crime of insulting a superior. He then ordered the detectives to take him away. But Liu Jiehui was far too inexperienced. A young cop actually pulled out his gun right away. But this was exactly what Li Wenbin found leveraged, plus the previous recording of insulting his boss. Li Wenbin announced that Liu Jiehui is now officially dismissed from his position.
According to police rules, as long as a relative has a real case, the doctor must report it.
And he was doomed. I will only do it for my son.
You haven't been that long yourself. It doesn't matter which part you go into.
Your own workability. I believe at all times.
The authority of the planning committee should be exercised.
This arrest targets vulnerabilities in our organization. This time, the terrifying timing doesn't need to heal my combination ability. Separate factions used by law were divided and defeated. Don't think I'll protect you. Protect you. Protect you. Protect you. Protecting you is not enough. Are you trying to seize power?
The two argued so much that they couldn't even keep up with the subtitles. But after their frenzied attacks, the director from abroad called, and you could tell from the tone on the phone. The director had already appointed Liu Jiehui as the head of the Korean War. Li Wenbin, who had just been so aggressive, now had only one word written on his forehead. It was just embarrassing, and Li Wenbin could only make excuses to save face. Due to health issues, he withdrew from the Cold War campaign, and Liu Jianhui successfully became a fossil man. As soon as he took office, he lifted all alert levels, leaving only a small number of people continue with this case. But it was precisely because of this decision that he ended up killing his best brother. Then he asked Aki to withdraw over 90 million Hong Kong dollars from the vault as the ransom. But once everything is ready,
unexpectedly, the robbers suddenly changed their minds. Hey, is the long cash on your side?
I want to tell you, you miscalculated. I am pressed for time. The cash I want is 33.33 million. You have half an hour to count money. You don't need to look it up. I am currently mortgaged throughout the Bay District.
At this moment, Liu Jiehui was especially certain this robber must have some mental issues. These days, there are still people who complain about having too much money. So before the robbers could regret it, hurry and pack up the remaining 50 million. Aki suddenly stepped forward and said that the vault supervisor had given instructions before leaving. If the money couldn't be used up, he hoped it could be returned to the vault immediately. Liu Jiehui agreed, asking someone to find a car. Send back this 50 million. Use a carriage. Then he took the remaining money to meet the robbers. But unexpectedly, Although this robber isn't great at math, his IQ is as high as 180. He actually knows police anti-stalking technology. In no time, he was playing people until they were dizzy and disoriented. Only after confirming he had shaken off all the police did Liu Jiehui finally stop.
Go down and throw the money down. Don't count the 3 headfuls of money.
To save him, he had no choice but to obey and behave. Unwilling to give up, he threw the 30 million on the ground. This made the few elderly men in the audience extremely excited. There really are fools who throw money away in broad daylight. At that moment, a car that looked like a robber drove over. But unexpectedly, the car was full of his colleagues. The robbers were not even down there. It was only then that Liu Jiehui realized,
I'm afraid money isn't their goal. Come up and help.
So he quickly called Aki up to help. As soon as he finished speaking, the robbers arrived here and shot at him. Fortunately, the brave driver shielded him a bit. Afterwards, Liu Jiehui emptied all the magazines in his hand. But after all, he was a civil official promoted in marksmanship. It is just enough to pop the balloons on the street stall. Not only was the other party unharmed, he even fired wildly at their side at critical moments. Aki used the car to shield him from most of the bullets. But after the robbers left, Liu Jiehui finally realized Aki has already been forcibly taken offline.
Wei Ling Wei.
Only now did he realize those robbers were after that 50 million from the very beginning. This is basically a trap, although all the hostages eventually returned safely. But Liu Jiehui got caught up in a life and death situation. His brother Li Wenbin, as the member of the action team, Old Nature had to come over and show his respects. But in fact, everyone understands that his true concern, it was his son. Li Jiazhen saw that his child was safe and sound. Li Wenbin felt completely at ease.